Bam. And we're live. We already got someone in. It's only been 10 seconds. So whoever you are, hello. Tonight, a couple quick little projects. We've got some dash 16 AN bungs to weld on this this radiator. Go up. Oop, wrong camera. So we're going to weld this little dash 16 bung on. Then I've also got, this is a custom setup for this guy. He's running dash 16s on the radiator with no fill neck. I capped that off last week for him. But we're actually going to run this dash 16 bung on his thermostat housing. So we get some nice and dirty, you can't really see inside there, but some nice and dirty cast aluminum tonight too. And then we'll go to show you guys a little demo on some, this is 065 wall 3-inch aluminum tube. This is some dirty, nasty eBay tube I've had in the shop for God knows 5 or 6 years. So it's nice and dirty. We'll clean it up a little bit, and then I'll show you guys some settings that work real good on this stuff. So let me go ahead and suit up, and we'll get started. So again, tonight I'm running the Everlast Lightning MTS 225. I am set up. Let me see real quick. I'm at a half-second pre-flow, 60 amp start, no pulse, no upslope. We are running 35% balance. I'm going to crank it up to 130 hertz, 131 if I'm going to be honest, just because I'm superstitious. You guys might catch on to that as I'm running like my setups. I'll always run like 101 amps, or I'll run 121 hertz. I have absolutely no reason behind that other than I'm just superstitious and that's the way I like things. So just a little odd quirk for me. We do have some, I'm trying out some new lights. So I'm going to blind you guys real quick. And I've got some new lights, trying to fix some of the lighting issues we've had previously. So if I'm getting a weird glare off something, just mention it in the comments and I'll try to move stuff around a little bit for you guys. So let's get started on this aluminum radiator. Now we're not going to put too much heat in this, so I'm not worried about the plastic fan staying on. It's not going to be in my way. So we'll let's get up on our amperage. I'm going to set the machine to, this is going to be kind of high, but I'm going to set it to 191 amps just so I get a nice hot start. We'll see. There we go. Derek, good to see you again. Mountains Garage. Good evening to you too, sir. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to tack this up with some 1/16 4043. And I intentionally left this pretty rough. I honestly cut this, it was actually just a little piece of tubing. Cut the tubing off with a cutoff wheel. It wouldn't fit in my bandsaw without trying to get into something else. So just cut it off with a cutoff wheel, ground it down flush with a flap disc, little wipe down with acetone, which I need to do right now. And then we're just going to weld it. It's a used radiator, so it's going to be dirty no matter what I do, just because it's got gunk on the inside. And so the little bit of crud from the flap disc isn't going to hurt us any. So here we go. I don't know how well this will work on the art cam, but let's give it a shot. locked up. Richard, good evening to you too, sir. Let me get this tacked up real quick, guys, and I'll switch the art cam on and off again. So again, I'm running 190 amps, and that's just to get a nice hot tack here. I'm not going to be using nearly all of that. I'm getting a weird ground issue. Make sure I'm solid over here. All right. Now we got our nice and tacked up. I'm going to move on to some 40-43, 3/32. We'll get this thing propped up a little bit. Let me see if I can get a good view on this little cam. So you guys can see, sorry, excuse me, I'm dealing with the existing hole in the radiator. I didn't drill it out just because it's getting really close to this backside, getting into the fins. And so if I drilled it out to where the bung would fit, I'd either be hanging out over this edge quite a bit, which I'd rather not do, or if I didn't hang over the edge, I'd be back into the fin row. So I'm going to go ahead and deal with this little bit of basically a gap where this part's recessed here, and just fill it in. We'll run a nice big thick bead over that, and you won't even really be able to tell that it ever looked like this. So let me switch the art cam back off. See if we can get a decent shot of this. And the art cam locked up. Let me, we'll try it on the small camera. It'll probably be a little too bright for you guys to see too much. Let's see how that works. Go ahead and rotate this around a little bit. All right, we'll make our way around this bung. Then I'll give you guys a close-up shot of it. Get a little bit better ground there. All right, so now we've made our first pass around. Generally on bungs like this, I like to make 2 passes just because it is pressurized and you're dealing with usually a pretty nasty weld, especially being a used radiator. So let me give you guys a close-up real quick. We'll kind of, you can see where I was dealing with that pretty big gap between the radiator and the actual bung itself there. So we're going to go ahead and run another pass around here, clean it up real nice. Let me see if we can get you on the arc shot. So yeah, is that Michael? So Michael, I don't know if you joined us a little bit late, but yeah, we're just welding some -16 bungs on instead of like the normal style tube, you know, inlet and outlet on this radiator. Just a local customer buddy of mine. I think this is actually going in a like Eagle Talon, like TSI. So pretty cool little ride. Especially dealing with higher performance engines, going to AN fittings, especially on the cooling system. You know, if you do happen to get a boost leak or something into the cooling system by lifting the head, at least you're not blowing, you know, coolant all over the place because you blew a line off. Also a lot more reliable. So let's go ahead and get on the arc cam. And I got to restart it again. Sorry, guys. This arc cam's giving me some problem tonight. One of these days, we will get this figured out. I promise you. And we'll be able to do some really cool stuff then. So here we go. Let's see. I'm going to get another fresh piece of 4043. All right, didn't lock up that time. Still good. So I don't know if you guys can see on the arc shot, but I'm trying to manipulate my torch a little bit just to get that puddle to be a little bit wider without having to run a ton of amperage in, just because this is so thin. So I'll kind of manipulate my torch in that area that I want my bead to kind of fill out. So let's go back to the arc shot and see if I can get a halfway decent shot of that. Kind of dip and kind of roll the torch down and then back up where I want my bead to be. Kind of make a little, almost like a little U shape. So let's get I'm going to run this last little pass, leave you guys out. All righty, there we go. So now the radiator's done. Like I said, previously I had put this -16 bung on, and actually the filler neck was right here. Cut it off, built this little plate to cap it off. Just because of the way this sits in the car, I think it's actually sitting like this in the car. So obviously the fill neck being right here is pointless. And that's why we are now going to be, this is his thermostat. It actually has a fill neck in the thermostat. So we're actually going to weld this -16 bung into the thermostat, and I'll give you guys a close-up. So you can see this is pretty heavily corroded, pretty nasty. I don't know if you guys can see on the inside of there, but it's had coolant in it. Obviously, it's been well used. So we'll clean it up a little bit with some acetone real fast. And we'll see how bad we can mess up this nasty used cast aluminum. Cast is tricky because you'll get one piece of cast that welds really well. Like if you guys were with me last week, that Yamaha four-wheeler swing arm, was that last week or the week before? Maybe week before. I'm losing it. But that Yamaha cast aluminum welded up really, really nice. I mean, it was almost like welded up some thick plate. It welded up real clean. And then sometimes you'll get on even like a new set of cast aluminum valve covers, and you would have sworn they were soaked in oil for 50 years. And then you'll get a set that was actually soaked in oil for 50 years, and it'll weld up really nice if you just spend some time cleaning it. So it's kind of hit or miss, luck of the draw on cast aluminum, what you're going to get. So use my handy block. Get that to rest there for a second. I'm not going to change the machine. Again, we're running the MTS 225. And I've got it set right now to advanced square wave. I think we said 131 hertz. I'm like 190 amps. Get some questions. So Michael, where can I find radiator cores I can weld bungs on? That one we just did, that was a Mishimoto. I welded up a lot of Mishimoto cores, changing them around, putting different tanks on them, different bungs. The Mishimoto stuff actually welds up really nice. I think they do sell blank cores that you can put your own tanks onto. So Mishimoto, I mean, they're relatively inexpensive as far as radiators go, but the quality of them is really nice from what I've experienced. Oh, let me see. So Derek, no, I don't purge my lines. I literally just shut the bottle off, shut the machine off, and walk away. I mean, you're just wasting a little bit of gas. If you purge it out, it's not really a big deal. Now, when I do turn the machine back on, I'll turn the bottle on, like crack on, turn the machine on, and I'll hit the pedal for a second and let it go through its pre-flow just to purge the line out when I turn it back on. But I won't purge it at the Caesar, is making passes without filler a good way to clean cast before welding with filler? Yeah, actually, that's a really good trick, especially on like bell housings, transmission cases, a lot of like your stuff that's soaked in oil. I've welded up a bunch of motorcycle cases, the engine case, and usually making a nice hot pass with no filler and usually a higher balance, like a 40, 45%, 50% balance. Just make a pass and just kind of sweep over the whole area a couple times. It'll help lift up some of that gunk. And if you start to tack it up, like you go to make a little quick tack and see how it's going to weld. If it starts acting really dirty, sometimes I'll make a really hot run, like running full amperage, and let that material melt a little bit and kind of cook some of that stuff out, and then go back with either like a Scotch-Brite pad on a roll lock or a flap disc, and flap disc that gunk back off before I go over with an actual fill pass. So we'll see how this tacks up, and we might actually try that. You know, if it tacks up super dirty, I might actually just go around it a little bit with basically a cleaning pass and see how much difference it makes. So let's get this tacked up real quick. I won't bother getting you guys on the arc cam. How far away am I holding the tungsten? I'll get on the small camera once I get this tacked up, and I'll show you what my arc gap's looking like, my arc length. So this actually looks like, even for just flap discing it, it's going to clean up pretty well. I say that, and then that one was pretty dirty. Let me make one more tack. I'll get you guys on the arc cam. And I think it's locked up again. All right, let's see if we can make another tack without locking up. So Caesar, on your point, locked up so you guys couldn't see it. I'm having a lot of trouble with Arc Cam tonight. It was running pretty good last week. But on that tack, I actually started on the cast piece and let my arc start there, and I kind of let it dance around a little bit, moved over, started my puddle on my machine piece, put a little dab of filler, and then washed it back into my cast just because I wanted a nice clean, piece of aluminum to bring back over to that cast. All right, with filler rod, do you find choosing filler rod thickness to be relative to material thickness? That really kind of depends, Caesar. Depends on the fit up more for me. I've got some 1/8-inch thick intercooler plenums over on my shelf. And if I get one that has a really tight fit up, I can run 1/16 on those and make it look really good, get nice, good penetration, have a real flat bead. If I get one that has a little bit wider gap, I'll step up to 3/32, of course. And there's a couple of them that, the break line was a little bit off. And so I've got a pretty good, 090 or, 100 thou gap. And I'll weld those with 1/8 inch. So on the same part, depending on fit up, I'll weld anything, I'll use anywhere from 1/16 to 1/8 inch, depending on my fit up. So now for me, like I wouldn't use, if I'm welding like 1/4 inch plate or I'm starting out on 3/16, I wouldn't use 1/16 to start on that. I would probably start with 3/32 and see how my bead profile looked, and then maybe jump up to 1/8 inch if I had a pretty good fit up where it was a real nice inside to inside corner. So I had a real wide, if these are the edges of my two plates and they're meeting up inside to inside, so I've got this big void to fill, then I'd probably use 1/8 inch. If it was kind of, more of a flush fit, I'd just use 3/32. So let's go ahead and weld this up. I'll try to get you guys on the Arc Cam. I'm having a lot of trouble with it tonight, but we'll see if we can get maybe a run or two in that you guys can actually see. So I'm going to bias my puddle more to my machined bung side, just because I know it's going to be cleaner. So I'll kind of, when I'm welding this, let's see, I'll go to the up close cam. So that actually wasn't a bad little bead for how dirty this is. But I was trying to focus my arc. If I'm welding this up, my tungsten was more to the bung side than it was to the cast side. And I was just kind of letting the outside edge of that toe catch that cast. Like I said, just because I know this bung is clean, so I'm going to get a better bead to start there. And I'll just use the size of my bead to catch this cast. So we'll go back to the arc shot. And I thought I might have to make a cleaning pass like Caesar was asking about on this, but it's actually not too bad. I thought it was going to be a lot dirtier than this. Make sure we're not locked up. And I'm starting to smell that coolant smell. It's nice and sweet. Now we're hitting a little bit of a dirty area. So that was pretty nasty there. Let me show you guys what that looks like. So you can see that area right there was pretty nasty. We got a couple of pinholes in here. And sometimes it's just going to be sometimes on this cast, it'll just be so dirty and so nasty that your only choice is to weld over it, kind of deal with it how it is, and then go back, grind it down, and make another weld. Oop, there we go. Sorry, I was on the wrong shot. So like I said, got a couple pinholes just because it was so. We can probably actually start our next run right at those pinholes and kind of backtrack over them. So I'll try that real quick and see if we can get those to clean up. If not, like I was saying, sometimes you just have to grind it back down and just make another pass and make it look good. I'm actually going to switch to 1/16 filler to run those over. Yeah, there we go. They cleaned up. Now, since this isn't real structural or real critical, I'm not super worried about running over those pinholes. If this was something a little more structurally sound or was taking a lot more stress, that's something I would definitely grind out. But for something like this, where we just need it to be watertight and it's holding 12, 13, 14 psi, I mean, it's going to be more than adequate for what it's doing. Let's go back to the arc shot and finish this run out. Oh, she locked up. What can we do? There you go. So for some used nasty cast, we got like maybe one little pinhole. Oh, let it focus. Maybe one little pinhole right in there, but we might run back over that real quick. But other than that, I think she's sealed up. So let's touch that little pinhole, and then we'll move on to doing some thin wall tubing for you guys real quick. And again, I'm going to switch to 1/16 filler. So Richard, yeah, there's one part in particular that I do like on the intake manifolds where I'm welding the top of the runners on the inside of the intake, where I'll actually be, if I'm running this way, I'll actually be back feeding my filler, and it's because the run goes kind of down away from me, over, and then I'm feeding back up, and then it'll come back across. And so just to make it one run, you pretty much have to back feed your filler because it's almost impossible to try to feed your filler from this side and then make that turn. So there's some instances where you do kind of back feed. Hey, Mountain, is the it'll take a second for your comment to come back through, but is the audio too loud or too soft? Turn it up a little bit. Hello? Yeah, Stuart, it is the high frequency part that's messing up the camera. It makes it shut off every now and then. So I'll hit these holes real quick, and then we'll get to the aluminum tube. So there we go. All righty, so again, just for we got 34 people, 35 people in here. So just to kind of recap, did that -16 bung on this used aluminum radiator, and then did another -16 bung on this cast aluminum piece. So now that was pretty much it for that. We can go over some thin wall tubing. This is 065 wall 3-inch tubing. This is like some cheap eBay tube. It's some of the worst welding tubing you guys can get. So if you guys are looking to do some kind of like a cold air intake or a turbo kit, I would highly recommend not using this eBay tube. I have a hell of a time making it look show quality. So let's just clean it up a little bit. Like I said earlier, this stuff's been sitting around in my garage, God, probably 5, 6, maybe 8 years. So it's been beat up and dusty and greasy. But we might be able to show a pretty good demo on what some of the settings do. Yeah, eBay stainless sucks. But maybe we can make this look halfway decent. So I'm actually going to turn my machine down to 90. Let's go 81 amps. The general rule of thumb of 1 amp per 100 thou works out pretty well. I mean, I'll usually go 1 amp per 100 thou plus 10%. So if I'm running 090 material, I'll usually run 100, 101 amps. If I'm running 1/8 inch, 0.125, I'll go 135 to 145. If I'm doing an outside corner, now if you're doing a fillet weld, you're going to need to add, I'd say another 10%. So if I'm doing an 1/8 inch fillet, I'll usually set my machine to 150 or 155 amps, just because a fillet does take a little bit more heat. So let's see if we can get the arc cam to work. Nope, it's locked up. Give me a second. And Derek, if you need any help setting up your 275, hit me up, man. Like I said, between all the cameras and this setup, I can make a private live stream. So basically, I can make a live stream, send you the link to join it, and then we can go through your MTS menu one-on-one. The 225 menu and the 275 menu, are pretty much identical, other than the fact that you do have an advanced AC pulse setting, and the 225 does not. So if you need some help setting that thing up when it comes in, seriously, man, feel free to hit me up. I'd be more than happy to run you through the settings on it if you need. So now we got our arc cam reloaded. Let's tack this up. See what we can do with it. Now, even though I tacked those up and it locked up, even though that I tacked those up sitting like this is another time when this jig I have or fixture I have really comes in handy, because you can take two pieces like this. Your angles keep the piece nice and square. They're obviously on the same plane, so all you got to do is just kind of put some pressure on them down, and it'll naturally kind of suck together. So I'll put another couple tacks on here. I just rough cut this with a circular saw right before we got started, so my cuts aren't super square, which will maybe work out pretty nice. Let me show you guys some bad fit up. So that's the other thing with this little jig. I can set the part at an angle, just like this. It makes it really nice and easy. I'm not having to come straight down over the top of it and to where I roll my torch angle changes. I can kind of prop it up. If I've got two smaller pieces, even if I've got a longer piece that can kind of hang off, sometimes I can prop it up, like this. I've got a really nice angle to weld on. And that's honestly, guys, like 90% of making a good weld is just getting to a point where you're comfortable. And you want to always work from being uncomfortable at your start, working towards being comfortable. So if you're, let's say we've got a run that's, 20 inches long, we don't want to start, way over here like this and try to run the weld out. I'll usually start, I'll have my filler rod pretty far out, and I'll start way over here like this, and I run towards being comfortable. So I'll start uncomfortable, and I'll run towards being more comfortable. And that's definitely, once you guys can get that through your head, that you want to actually start in your worst position and then work to your best position, it's a lot easier to move when you're working towards being more comfortable than if you start out comfy and you're working towards being more uncomfortable. You get in a bind and you can't move. Whereas if you get in a bind and you're working out of it, it's a lot easier. So little tip. So let's go ahead. We'll weld half of this with 1/16 filler, and then I'll switch over to some 3/32. Just kind of show you guys a little bit of the difference in filler. And I'm kind of 50-50 on 065 tubing. Even if I've got a real nice tight fit up, you know, they're really butted together. Sometimes I'll still run 3/32 if I'm feeling a little lazy and I don't want to have to push a lot of filler in. With 3/32, you can just kind of barely tap it in. And so if I'm a little lazy that day, I might use 3/32. You get about the same result either way. So let's run this. Show you guys something you might actually want to see. And then we'll open it up for some questions, you know, see if I can maybe swap machines around with something else you guys want to see. So let's give this a shot with the arc cam. So I like to start out nice and low and then roll into it. And you can kind of see that joint keyhole just a little bit. So keyhole dip, keyhole dip, keyhole dip. every time arc cam locks up. Oh. Let's try that again. Yeah, Richard, sometimes you just can't get comfortable. There's a lot of times when I'm a little bigger than I used to be. So getting into like a roll cage and you're upside down, your feet are sitting on the roof and you're trying to run a little bead upside down. That can be, you're never really comfortable no matter what you do. So let's try this again. Try moving this a little bit further away from me and seeing if we can get something worth watching on the arc shot. Nope, it's not going to play nice. I'm running the Lightning MTS 225. Oh, so Michael, you know, I'm not real familiar on the NASA or the SCCA cage requirements. I mainly dealt with NHRA. So if you had an NHRA question, I could probably answer it for you. But as far as what SCCA and NASA, NASA require, really, I'd be talking out of my ass on that one. I really have no idea what the requirements are as far as tube diameter, tube thickness, where the supports go, or even what the regulations are against, you know, what size cage you need for the weight of the car or for the speed. So anything I told you would just be a total fabrication. And that's one side of fabrication I'm not good at. But yeah, if you had an NHRA question, I could pretty much answer an NHRA cage question for you. So we ran, let's switch over to the close-up cam. So this is pretty typical of my results, pretty much always with this Chinese tube. You get a little bit of a shine, but it gets a little gray. So, I mean, it's not bad. This is really flat. We did get, you know, I'm getting really good penetration. So I know my heat's right. That's about what you want to look for. So how thick of aluminum can I weld with a 225? You could pretty easily do 3/16, Nick. I'd have no problem. I mean, you'd be running, you know, 200 amps, 220 amps on 3/16, but you could do 3/16 aluminum pretty easy. 1/4 inch, I think, would be, I mean, it would probably do it, but you'd need to sit around and wait for it for a minute. And then as you got any thicker than 1/4 inch, you'd have to really preheat it or go with like a helium mix. Now, if you got, you know, pure helium and ran DC, then, you know, you can weld half inch plate, no problem. But that's not really cost effective with the price of helium right now. So let's switch over to running some 332nd on this thin wall tube. Again, I'm running a 130 hertz. I think I got the machine set at 81 amps. I'm not using nearly all of that. You could probably set up to run, you could probably run this at 70 amps and still be pretty good on your heat. So what causes the grain bead? I'll tell you what, Richard, let me run this run real quick on 332nd, and then we'll talk about that, because I think you'll actually see a little bit of difference here going to a thicker filler. So let me reset this arc cam again. Having a hell of a time. But Richard, generally you'll see a grain bead with 4043 if you're running a little hot and not adding enough filler. So let me scoot back a little bit, try to get a shot. And it's still locked up. Let me, we'll run another pass real quick, then we'll hop onto the close-up cam and show you guys the difference. All right, so now we ran around. Check some questions. Thanks. I'll look at Everlast 350. Yeah, Nick, I actually have a 325 EXT I've been running for 2.5 years. And that is a workhorse of machine. I ran production AC TIG on that machine for right at 2 years. Never had a hiccup with it. Never found something that I couldn't tackle with the 325. And the 350, obviously you're getting another 25 amps. So it's even a bigger case, a little more industrial machine. That'll be a workhorse for you, especially if you're doing head repair. So let's get over to the up close cam. I'll try to hold on to this as best I can. So this is our pass with the 1/16 filler. You can see it's a nice low bead. And then, like I said, this Chinese tubing or this eBay tubing, you always get a little bit of a grain bead. It just doesn't really seem to weld super clean. Here we go with our 332nd pass. You can see it's got a lot more shine to it. And what that's from, what's that from, Derek, is that's from basically a little bit better heat control. You're actually running a little bit colder because you're adding more filler into it. But here we can see that's a little too much penetration. I typically wouldn't like to see that much penetration. If I was doing this for a customer, I'd probably hit that with a die grinder, or I've got some like drum sandpaper bobs I'd put in there and try to knock some of that down. That's a little over penetrated. I mean, obviously it's going to hold, but try not to have that much disruption in the airflow. So you can see we still had, still had really good penetration, even though we were running a bigger filler rod. It'll let you run a little bit more amperage, but you can control the heat input with that bigger filler a little bit better. So like I said, on 065 wall, sometimes I'll run 16th. Most of the time I'll run 332nd filler on 065 wall. Let's see. So Derek, can you give any insight on the new EXTs? I'm not sure if I can do that yet. Let me, I need to talk to Oleg anyway. So I think I'll actually be speaking to him on Wednesday. I'll make a mental note, and Todd might be watching this from Everlast. If Todd's on here, I can probably talk to him afterwards, and then next week we might be able to do kind of a sneak peek at what's going to be coming for the EXT lineup. I will tell you, from what I know, it's going to be pretty badass. It's going to be a major step forward for the EXT line. But as far as what I actually tell you, not real clear on that. So I don't want to step on anyone's toes. In case you guys did miss it last week, though, Everlast came out with an update to their warranty. Now, generally, when a company says they're going to update their warranty policy, that's not good news. In this case, it benefits the customer exponentially. I was really surprised when I was told about the update. And what it is, Everlast has always been an industry leader with a 5-year warranty. So we had 5-year parts and labor. Obviously, we've got the 2 repair centers, one outside of Nashville and one in San Francisco. So if you did have a warranty that you wanted to send the machine in for, you'd have to pay for shipping to the repair center and back to you. With the warranty update, any machine purchased in 2022 and on is going to be 5-year parts and labor with free shipping to and from the repair center for the customer for the full 5 years. So, kind of going with standing behind the product and showing how much we believe in Everlast machines. We're going to bump the warranty up and make sure that we offer you guys the absolute best warranty in the industry. And I don't think anybody can can argue that that's the best warranty. Derek, I will be beta testing the new EXT lineup, and I think we'll probably debut it on here as well. So everybody that's tuned in, 40 of you now, if you guys stick around, that's one of the purposes of this show. Obviously, we did didn't really unveil it, but running through the MTS. Everlast does have a new budget-minded 60-amp plasma coming the next couple months. I know I can talk about that. It's not a high-frequency start. It's a real economy-minded 60-amp plasma. I think we will also debut that on the show here, so we can run through and kind of show you guys, what it can do. But again, that's a new budget-minded 60-amp plasma, not meant for a CNC table, but kind of your home hobbyist guy that wants to cut, half-inch plate, stuff like that. So I can tell you that. As far as the new XTs, again, I'll get with Oleg and see what I can tell you guys about them. I know it's going to be pretty badass, though. So awesome, Richard. Yeah, then like I said, guys, any machine purchased from January 1st, 2022 and on, so newer, January 1st, 2022 and newer purchased machines will all be 5-year warranty, parts and labor, and 5-year free shipping to and from the repair center if you want to use the repair center. Now, with Everlast boards being modular, a lot of the repairs you guys can actually do on your own. The tech department or tech service will actually help you with the repair. They'll tell you, what you need to do. And that's part of what this channel is going to be for too. If somebody, if we get something we can show, like a board replacement or a gas solenoid replacement, kind of the simple stuff, something we can do real quick, half hour to do a repair, then that's something that I'd be more than happy to show you guys. Because if I can show you guys how to fix your own machine, you still get the part for free. You can usually get it 2-day express shipped, or get it within 3, 4, 5 days max, and then you can fix your own machine in the course of an hour, 2 hours, and be right back up and running, instead of even like let's say a name brand. You've got to drive it to a repair center or an authorized dealer, and then you're going to wait 2 weeks, a month. I've waited as long as 19 weeks to get a blue welder repaired. Nick, I wouldn't say you should wait. Obviously, we're going to run some pretty good deals on the existing models. The new EXT isn't going to come out until probably this time, 2023, for purchase. I'll probably have a demo version within, like a pre-production prototype, within probably the next month and a half, 2 months. I'd say early spring, mid-spring, I'll have a prototype that we can run through. And then the actual production units probably won't be available until after Black Friday, or right at the first of the year for 2023. So if you're wanting to get a machine, I'd go ahead and get one. And then you know, obviously you're going to get a pretty good deal come into the year. But yeah, if you want to get a new machine, I'd go ahead and get on one. Yeah, Caesar, as the new models come out, Oleg always runs a really good deal on the older backstock. So as a new machine comes out, obviously we'll try to offload the older equipment. But again, the new EXT or the next gen EXT is probably not going to be out for another year. We're talking 11 months, 10 months, 11 months minimum. So it's going to be a while. So if you guys are really looking at a machine now, I'd go ahead and hop on. I know we've got some 2021 350 EXTs in stock, and they're the 2021 models. I know they're on almost like a closeout sale right now. I think they're like $2,600. So if that's about it, guys, we're hitting an hour. I didn't think it would take an hour to weld on 2 bungs and run some tubing, but I think we'll call it a night. I want to get in and hang out with the family for a little bit and get to bed. So, we got 40 people. So everybody, thanks for hanging out. Again, if you guys, this is your first night joining us, I'm going to do a live stream every Monday night, 7 p.m. Central Time right here on the Everlast YouTube channel. This is pretty much what I do. I'll have a little project we can kind of run through, show you guys some tips and tricks, maybe do a little teaching session on, some thin wall tube. But I've got enough machines I can pretty much do any process. I'm trying to get my brother up to maybe do a stick welding demo for you guys and actually use the art cam. Since there's no high frequency, the art cam would work really well on that. We might have him up to do a stick welding demo, doing some like 60-10, 60-11, 70-18. And then, yeah. So if you guys have any questions, always feel free to hit me up on Facebook. I'm one of the moderators, admins on the Everlast Facebook page. Just look me up, Jesse McCollum. You'll probably see me liking or commenting on just about any post on the Everlast Facebook page, so I'm pretty easy to find. And then you can find me on Instagram at McCollum.weldfab and also on TikTok at McCollum.weldfab. I feel like I got to pull my man card to be on TikTok. Caesar, yeah, I can cut up I've got enough tubing. I can do some pie cuts and kind of show you guys how to lay them out and fit them up. So maybe not next week, but I'll definitely put that on the list. I need to bring my whiteboard over and start making a list of stuff you guys want to see so I keep a mental note of it. But I'm going to head out, guys. I appreciate everybody hanging out, and we'll see you next week.